Hello friends, welcome to India Kitchen Congress.
Thank you.
India Kitchen Congress is the annual conference for the modular kitchen, furniture and home improvement industry. And this year we are holding it entirely online, virtually, instead of meeting physically. And this year we've designed the conference as a series of 8 weekly webinars. They started on June 20th and will go on till August 8th, every Saturday at 3 p.m. And today we are in the third session. The first one was about the big picture, where we discussed how real estate was moving ahead. The second one was a strategy session called the CEO Roundtable. And today's session is on manufacturing and is titled The Connected Factory. And to present today's session, I have with me a young entrepreneur, CEO of Ultrafresh India, a legacy kitchen company, but with new blood infused young blood, young leadership. Dhruv took over the operations just 3 years back. And since then, he has literally transformed his company by adding more product categories and energizing the operation.
Okay.
So he'll be moderating the session, and we of course have a very eminent panel of speakers whom he'll be introducing. But before I hand over the floor to him, I'll just take a short commercial break.
Hettich Fittings make your furniture work beautifully. German quality you can trust.
Was that visible?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. With this, Dhruv, I hand over the floor to you.
Thank you, Deepak ji, and thank you for some kind words there. Good afternoon, all, and thanks for joining us in today's edition of the Virtual Indian Kitchen Congress. The IKC has been a great platform over the last few years for kitchen brands to come together and discuss the direction in which we are headed and celebrate the achievements of the modular kitchen industry, which is very fast booming in India. In keeping with this trend, it gives me extreme pleasure to introduce today's esteemed panel to you all. I would begin with Mr. Gaurav. Gaurav, who's joining us from Gurgaon, represents Hettich India. He's been with Hettich for 18 years, and he is seen as a stalwart of the industry. He started as an area manager, and for Hettich, he has handled territories in South, North, and the East of India. He was also involved with OEM trade and the projects division. Currently, he is serving as the Vice President and driving key products at Hettich. Thank you, Gaurav, for joining us. Hey. We also have Zurvan from Godrej Interio coming up and joining us from Mumbai. In his current capacity as a Senior Vice President and Head of Product Supply, he oversees all of the manufacturing and distribution of Godrej Interio, which is no mean task. That's manufacturing unit footprints all the way from Uttarakhand till Tamil Nadu. He also chairs the Manufacturing Council of Godrej and Boyce, and he's also a member of the National Manufacturing Council of the Confederation of Indian Industry. Zurvan, thanks for joining us today. We also have Mr. Venkataramana Gorti, who is currently the Managing Director for Homag India. Mr. Venkat has 29 years of experience working across varied engineering industries across all businesses, including organizations like GE, Oracle, Flextronics, Wipro, and Honeywell. He has not only worked in India, but also largely in Middle East, USA, Brazil, and Europe. He started as a mechanical engineer, and today he's also a Lean and Six Sigma certified professional. We welcome you to the industry and to this panel, Mr. Venkat. Thank you. We're also joined today by Mr. Partha Nath, who is joining us from Calcutta. He represents Greenply Industries. He's been with Greenply for the last 5 years, but he has over 19 years of experience in the building material and interior infrastructure manufacturing industry, with prior experience at Asian Paints as well. Currently, he heads the Greenply manufacturing unit in Calcutta, producing plywood and other varied products. Thank you for joining us today, Partha. We also have with us Mr. Deepak Gupta, who has had 35 years of work experience in senior management in a variety of roles, managing both manufacturing and distribution. He's an expert in lean production, Industry 4.0, and now Industry 5.0. And he has consulted numerous organizations, big and small, government and private, in best business and manufacturing practices. He has a passion for coaching people and sharing his expertise and passion with others. We hope you can continue to do that today with us, sir.
Sure, thank you.
We're also joined by Ingo, who from Imos, joining us from Germany. He has had a long experience in the modular kitchen industry, starting from Nobilia, and he is an industrial expert at manufacturing and integrating technology with manufacturing processes of furniture industry. We look forward to hearing much more from him after the discussion regarding Imos, and we welcome his inputs onto the panel. Thank you, Ingo.
Thank you.
Great. So not only are we very well represented in terms of we have the component suppliers, we have raw material supplier, we have the machine makers, we have the technology and the software providers, we have the market leaders who give the complete kitchen solution, and we have a production management expert. But at a personal level also, this is a dream panel for me to pick out because at Ultrafresh, we use plyboards from Greenply, which are processed using Homag machinery. We combine it with Hettich hardware and accessories, and we sell the complete kitchen solution in the same market where Godrej Interio has been a market leader. So for my personal learning curve, I couldn't have picked a better panel, and I'm sure the audience would agree with the same, right? Today, our umbrella theme for the discussion is the connected factory. So at a very micro level, kitchens are the heart of the home and they reflect the lifestyle of the homeowner. And therefore, as a kitchen industry, we have a big responsibility to adapt and innovate to the changing lifestyle. So our factories and our production is very much connected to the consumer's lifestyle. But at an industry level also, this is one of the few industries where the customer is following everything that's happening in the factory because he has given the order, and then he's seeing when his product is in production, packaging, dispatching, and reaching him because it's a post-production after the sale has happened. But at a larger level too, I think we've never had a bigger realization than we are having now about how connected globally the entire world is. When something small happening in Wuhan, China in a few months has put everything on standstill across the world. So every choice, every direction we take as an industry, as manufacturers, as producers, has a huge impact on stakeholders at all levels, starting from the lifestyle of the customer to the environment and the ecosystem of the planet we are living on. And I think in that sense, talking about a connected factory in a holistic manner is very relevant to our discussion today, right? So when we begin this discussion, I want to first talk about the factors of production and production practices as we are seeing them today. A lot of the discussion has been around making our production more efficient in these crunch times. But also a lot of the discussion presently in India has been about the difficulties being faced due to imports. Now we know that a lot of the raw material or components for modular kitchens are imported. And so I would want to open the panel discussion straight away. I want to go to Mr. Gaurav because Hettich is a large provider of components and they manufacture in India as well as abroad. Gaurav, how do you see the landscape changing in terms of raw material and components? Do you think the import decisions will be impacted in the short term and in the long term? And how do you see that panning out for Make in India push from the government, etc.?
I really feel that the Make in India concept that Modi government is trying to promote is going to become more relevant in the near future because whatever we are importing at the moment, whether the furniture or the kitchens, we as India would have problems in terms of importing stuff from at least China, and there would be a lot of backlash of people had come over the corona thing, but people would not be able to come over the border thing really. So what is going on in the border has hit Indian people more hard, and people would be looking at restricting their supplies both for furniture as well as for the components. So what would happen is, and the government is also going to make the imports from China more difficult. And there's in very short run, it is also possible that there could be a penal duty, or there could be a licensing kind of a policy. So if this deadlock, which is currently happening at the border carries on for another 3 months, then all of us would start looking out for alternate suppliers. You see, what happens is that we as manufacturers or businessmen normally do not take hard decisions with these short-term things happening. But if these things prolong for 2-3 months, then we are bound to think about it. And if this is going to prolong for 2-3 months, then we are bound to think about our alternative suppliers. So what would happen is our people would start thinking towards either moving towards Southeast Asia or East European suppliers with regards to components, and also with regards to furniture supplies. Second part would be, for example, company like Hettich. We have started creating a base for manufacturing in India. So what would happen is, for example, we are also restricting our dependence upon supplies from Germany. And our dream is to make Hettich India a forex neutral company. That means what we were importing, we would be exporting equivalent amount. So if we can, as an organization, can dream that, that means it would also put pressure on other organizations, other multinational companies to start thinking on the similar lines, because cost of production in India can be achieved to similar levels as China, provided you have volumes. And I think we have been able to do so in last 2 years only with the telescopic factory, where we shifted our game plan from China to India. So make in India and alternative sources of supply other than China are going to be broader two things, which I feel is going to be relevant really in near future.
Sure. Anyone else who wants to speak regarding the import decision changes? Zurvan, how do you see it impacting the industry? And do you see that a shift for you, for example, to change your raw material sourcing in the short term or in the long term?
I agree with Gaurav. It's not going to play out in the short term, no doubt. But then I think Gaurav made a very valid point that Corona would be forgotten, but the border incursions or the border skirmishes will not be forgotten easily. I think we're already seeing the impact of that in terms of softer issues like the banning of the apps, etc. In fact, I'm going to play back what Mr. Goel, Gaurav's MD, said when we met for the factory inauguration. He says, "My aim is to make German quality at lower than Chinese prices," and I think this is a great opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I think this is where all of us in the industry are looking for the processors of OEM suppliers, whether it's the likes of Greenply or Hettich or so many of the others, including our steel mills. These are, each one will have to play his role in it. It's not going to happen easily, but I believe that this is something and whose time has come, and we have to do it.
Sure. So, and that's interesting to hear on what's going to happen about the imported components. But when talking about, say, other factors of production like labor, we know that there's been an unfortunate problem in India where either you've had to lay off people when, the factories haven't had much of volume, or there has been labor migration. So, Partha, I want to come to you in that regard to understand what kind of implications does this have, and are you now working towards working with lesser labor or trying to reskill the labor? What's the process now to make your factory productive again in terms of the labor issues that might have been faced?
Well, Dhruv, it's very true that the migration has definitely happened, but during this lockdown period, it had actually given us an opportunity to look back where we lagged, like to improve productivity, to include some kind of an automation, and to see where whole of the process is carried out through system automation rather than rather than your person specific. So we have worked upon during this lockdown period, and just to give you an example what presently is going on, probably almost we are working with right now, if I'm say from the 8th of June that we have started the operations, we are working with only 80 to 84% of the total labor that we are working with, but we have not reduced little bit of production. It has all increased, and that's because of the meticulous planning that has been done. Probably we were, before that, most of the time we were engrossed in day-to-day activities majorly and not focusing on where we could have bettered ourselves. And this time actually gave us an opportunity to think about that, and we are dot on that. Whatever we planned, we started implementing. It was difficult initially, but yes, we had done that, and probably we'll go forward and implement whatever we have thought of that 100% we can do. So that labor dependency we're trying to reduce down, and obviously we are not compromising on quality and product, but yes, it has definitely impacted the initial days, but we have overcome, and presently we are definitely on a brighter note and going forward with the full production right now.
Venkat, I want to take that to you now, because as Partha said that, one of the things they've tried to do with trying to systematically plan their production, or, to automate some of the processes in order to reduce the labor dependency. So coming as a, machine provider or as a technology provider to production houses, how do you see is this decision at labor versus automation? What is the process that people are following, and how is that working for you in the market currently?
Thanks, Dhruv. And I think you're asking a very pertinent question. And while it's a bit unfortunate, the labor force going back to their hometowns, but I think this would also help the industry to start looking at more digitization and the automations, because these are the tools which will help us to really start looking at how do we remotely manage many of the operations, how do we get the right signals using technology, and also it will help us to really multi-skill and upskill the labor force what we have. And I don't want to just restrict to the labor force. It starts right from the designing to the manufacturing, the production planning. So this could actually start accelerating how we start looking at automation and digitization more and more, which definitely will help us to deliver some of the key business parameters like OEE, which I think is paramount for a manufacturing industry. And a couple of more things like what's the turnaround time when we receive orders from the customers, and how fast the entire value stream we are able to turn it around. So as they say, in every adversity, there is an opportunity, and this is one time I think it will really start helping us to look at digitization more and more.
I think like one of the decisions, Venkat, that a lot of the management would have to make right now, because there is definitely a cash crunch because of less business in the last 3 to 4 months. So when they're looking at, automation, there is a cost involved to that automation. So when you're making that decision versus long-term and short-term cost, because that is your selling proposition. So how would you convince, or how would you, direct the management to make that decision about kind of capital investment into automation, and how over time that, reflects in terms of return on investment for the producer? Zurvan, sure.
No, I think you're making one very basic assumption here, that automation is capital investment and capital hungry. That is not the case. There is an entire level of low-cost automation which can be done very efficiently by the team that is actually working on the job, and that is an unexplored. That is an unexplored level. We should not even be looking at high-end capitalization and automation. So I would just like to correct that thought over there.
Absolutely, Mr. Venkat.
Yeah, thanks, Zurvan, for making that statement. I fully agree with you. And I think the way we will have to look at it is CapEx and ROI. I think there are multiple ways to look at it. One of the simplistic ways I have come across is, if I automate something, how many operators I can reduce. I think it is too simplistic. we need to look at how does it impact the business over a longer period, and it could be as simple as what's your, I will keep coming back to the key parameter, which is OEE. How does it improve the availability of your capex? How does it help you to utilize it better? And most importantly, the quality. So I think if we start looking at the total cost of ownership, and when we look at whatever we are investing, I'm very sure that we can actually see the benefits. And most, I would say the challenge what I'm seeing in the industries across is not with respect to the capex. The challenge is always on how do we have this change happening down the line. And I want to give you an example. I think when ERPs were coming into the industries many years back, it was the same challenge. You can go with the best ERP in the world, but how do you actually deploy it, and how do you get it to be the DNA of the organization? I think that's when you really start seeing the benefits of any investment you do. I'm not even talking about the capex. And if you have some interest, I can actually give you a couple of data points just so that we get a better idea. We have some real life cases when Homag IX is used globally, and these are the numbers I'm telling which has come from our customers directly to us. The saving with respect to the time, right from the engineering drawings making till the product comes out, has come out as 76%, okay, with respect to the time. And with respect to the cost, they could save 47%. Of course, these are all the examples which has come from the industries working in Germany, but it's the reality. So when you invest, how do you actually ensure that that is what is being used as a business tool is the big differentiator. That's the way I will look at it.
Ingo, I think you want to comment on that.
Yes, I absolutely agree with the statement of this options, but I think we also have to look a bit in a bigger scale. You start the discussion with ecosystems when you start the how the flow comes in and so on. And if we look of our customers who also run an ecosystem, they have their company tasks, their connections to do, they have their sales and order processes, the purchase divisions, they have their technical divisions who take the Hettich hardware and bring it into the drawings and bring out the productivity for the information for the production. And they also have their high-end production facilities. And the point in this is that the IT and the physical components are linked together in this way, not only from the drawing to the machine, also from the supplier of the panels, from the supplier of the fittings, as well as also of the technical information, how a cabinet is constructed. And this is more or less an ecosystem of a company who like to provide furniture. And if you like to do so, you have to industrialize your data. The data is the greatest asset to better serve customers, improvements, or to improve products, to navigate complex business situations. And also it's a key to transform the future of this industry, what we are facing for. And this gives us the value of Industry 4.0. And this is the most important thing, that the data in the past, we got the sales books of furniture, it was a paper book. It has limits. Today, we have to consider also this in a digital form, that we can work with the information of the supplier and deliver this directly from the point of sale down to the machine. And this is, I think, the biggest transformation what we have to look to right now to industrialize the data. And therefore also Imos work quite close together with Hettich, close together with the panel industry, as well as close together with the machine industry to connect all those into their own ecosystem. And this is, I think, the key for the future of these companies, to involve all the supplier, all the production parts, and just make it into one ecosystem.
Okay, that's very interesting because you mentioned Industry 4.0 there, and I'm going to take it to Mr. Deepak. Deepak, so where do you see, because we're talking about the overall efficiency in production and production practices in general in the current environment, how do you see that, and how do you see Industry 4.0 or 5.0 coming into that in practical terms?
Yeah, thank you. we all must not forget the real goals of world-class manufacturing, which is customer delight, achieving customer delight through best quality, lowest cost, timely delivery, and giving large variety. So these were the few goals with which Toyota and other some Japanese companies started after the bombing. And they said we should do only those value-adding activities which deliver customer delight. Until today, they have not gone madly after automation, robotics. I recently read a report where Toyota has removed robots and brought back the old artisans who were retired. They brought them back to create cars with their hands, to bring back creativity and innovation and human touch into the models. That has been a huge success. So in mad rush for automation, we should not be spending large amounts of money, and we should not eat away jobs. The human touch should always be maintained, I believe. And for me, a connected factory would mean deeply connected to the society, the purpose of society, the customer, the suppliers, the employees, the shareholders. Everybody should be connected. And the end result that comes out of the factory is like an orchestra, men and machines together producing music. So I was happy to just a few days back come across this Industry 5.0, which says the fifth industrial revolution or Industry 5.0 will be focused on the cooperation between man and machine as human intelligence works in harmony with cognitive computing. By putting humans back into industrial production with collaborative robots, workers will be upskilled to provide value-added tasks in production, leading to mass customization and personalization of customers. Like how Google has been customized by each person using it. The smartphone, every person has a different feature, different kind of apps. So everybody loves to have customization. And I was in a CIA conference in Bangalore. I saw a presentation by Godrej, You and Us concept. It was so delightful that how Godrej has brought together everybody, all stakeholders, and created a model for every pocket and giving them excitement for a low-cost model also and high-cost model. I think that is what we have to look into and not madly rush for high investments in Industry 4.0. We have to go slow on that. I believe automation should help the man, not replace the man. Wherever there have been cases where the whole factory was designed to be humanless, it did not last even 2 years. So it was not flexible. We need a flexible system. And we should not forget the beauty of God-made machine, that is a human being. No machine can beat that. That's all.
Right. That's a very good point. I mean, we have to be sensitive to the idea because this industry at large employs a large number of people. And when we talk about flexibility, usually the flexibility is something that cannot be accommodated if you're talking about automation. I think that kind of plays into customization also with regards to our industry. So Zurvan, I wanted to speak to you regarding this and know your viewpoint about the standardization. So we know that in India, the modular furniture industry does a lot more customization than anywhere else in the world. And many have said that, that might be one of the reasons why Indian modular manufacturing hasn't been able to scale up to those kind of volumes that maybe you see in factories in Germany or in China. And we've heard opposing viewpoints on that. So what is your view on standardizing the size, material, things like that?
I think now we're going to restrict our discussion to kitchens because we've talked a lot about industry in general, so we'll talk more kitchen specific.
Right.
I think customers will always want something customized and manufacturers will always want it standardized. And the trick is going to be to have a buffer in between, okay, where you can do standard manufacturing. I'll define standard going forward. I can see Ingo smiling. And then you talk about giving the customer a customized experience. Now, there are basically three ways in which a kitchen can be customized, okay? One is that you standardize everything and then knowing our, the way our civil works have no standards, no, when I say I mean, they're good quality, but standards in terms of standard sizes. Then you got to do things like, gaps and end fillers, gap fillers, and a kind of whole lot of, stuff that is used to be done. Let me just put it that way. The second one is the conventional site work. So you go take a measurement and you do that there. There's no standardization. And the third one is all about using the concept of parametric design. Now, in parametric design, what you do is you have standard component design where all your corner joineries and everything is all standardized. The dimension can be adjusted. So you have to build in flexibility. You get that ecosystem which Ingo spoke about in the previous session, whereby you have your built-in library of your hardware, your built-in library of your panel detailing, and with that, then you are able to give the customer a customized solution, but your processes remain standardized. Okay, so that is the way forward on that. Of course, there are always going to be limitations because when you're working with things like wire baskets and stuff, those units have to standardize. But on the other hand, you have units, with shells where you can play around and, take off that extra space. So that is exciting options. So I believe that the way forward is have standardized processes and give the customer a customized experience. In a way, is what we call mass customization.
Okay, mass customization. That's a very interesting, I think, term to take forward. So Gaurav, I want to know your views on the same. Because as component manufacturers, you have to manufacture your components vis-a-vis what standards of sizes, etc., that the modular kitchen industry is, or the modular furniture industry at large is, following. So what are your thoughts about going forward, whether some kind of standardization is possible to implement at a larger scale? If not, what are the challenges and how do you see that benefiting Hettich?
Yeah, just Mr. Marolia said, it's a difficult balance which has to be maintained between standardization and customization. You see, if any manufacturer wants to become really large, he has to virtually standardize. So there has to be a delicate balance which has to be maintained between standardization and customization. Now, coming back to Hettich as an organization, how do we do it? You see, the standard norm, for example, cabinetry width is 450, 600, 900. That's an international standard, okay? This standard was not being used or being prevailed in Indian, even the industry. Forget about the trade side. I'm not talking about the trade side where the hardware or the stuff is being made by the carpenter. This was not being even standardized by the manufacturing OEM of even ours. But of late, in last 2-3 years, everybody has started realizing it. So if people realize it, it would help everyone. It would help us as fitting companies to keep those regular stocks. For example, if we keep cutleries or we keep the baskets of standard size of 450, 600, 900, and we are able to curtail the inventories of the other sizes, that means we can lower the cost of inventory, and ultimately the lowering the cost of inventory would be passed on to the customer. Secondly, what he said was customization. For example, we have one basket where we have inlets. So the same basket can be played around with 4 kinds of inlets. I can make X combination for making it a cup and saucer. I can make it a cutlery thing. I can make it a different thing. So that means again, I'm reducing the number of SKUs. So it is good from the perspective of manufacturer. It is good from the perspective of trader. So you see, we as an organization are thinking in terms of lowering the inventories. But as Mr. Marolia said, the market wants customization. So there's a delicate balance. But if India wants to become really big, if any company wants to become really big in terms of manufacturing concern, they would have to start thinking in terms of reducing the number of SKUs, reducing the number of options, because if you are a setup of 2 crores is your turnover and you're offering n number of combinations, it is not done. But if you're a 500 crore company and you're offering, say, 50 combinations, then your turnover is to combination offering is justified. You see, if at a small setup, you are saying, I would service everything, I would give you every option, you would not be able to become big. You see, when we started Hettich, the option was we would limit down ourselves. Today also, we as Hettich, in spite of being the largest, we are playing around with 1,000 SKUs. So we are playing work with 1,000 SKUs, everything else is C class. So, and that's ABC has to be continuously pruned down because there are changes in lifestyle. You might like this today, you might not like this tomorrow. So somebody has to continuously work towards what is ABC, what is regularly being used and what has to be pruned down. So I believe every manufacturer would have to start looking into what is this size and what customization and what standardizing has to play around with. It also depends on the size really.
Right. So that's very interesting because Partha, I want to come to you with regards to that. Gaurav mentioned something regarding reducing the inventories and, reducing the number of SKUs. So one, how is Greenply doing that? But also it would be quite interesting to know how raw material supply would help in, in the optimized processes and, what kind of standardization can we look at in the raw material that we're using to manufacture our kitchens?
As a manufacturer like Greenply, we have to have both the options, be it customization as well as your standardization. Standardized products are definitely for the masses, and for OEMs we have a separate customized products. Like for modular kitchen manufacturers like yours, we have this calibrated plywood, which is the most widely used across. 16 mm probably is the most widely used. So we have that calibrated plywood which we are continuously selling it to the OEMs. And for the masses, yes, we have that standardized products of specific thicknesses which are already available across all across India. So this customization, not only that whatever we are presently making is only for the modular kitchen manufacturer, but there are a lot of other manufacturers also who takes our product and then convert it into a final product, taking into consideration that they will be sold to the market as a finished product. Now, in that case, whatever product we are giving, it's basically for that particular thing, it is customized. Like they require something, the thickness. Obviously, look, plywood, if I just need to explain you, it is not a solid wood. It is made up of different layers of wood, and different layers would have different thicknesses. So we can have any thickness that you want, we can give it to you. So that depends upon whatever is the requirement, we can get it done, we can customize it and can send it across to you. So that not only helps in having an ease of operation at your end, it will help in your machine efficiency also, because if we get a good quality plywood with a good calibrated options across all the thicknesses, your machine efficiency will definitely also increase. That's what I feel.
Mr. Venkat, you wanted to come in on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to a couple of more things what was discussed. And coming from a lean background, one of the key things, the way I would look at it is, customers would look at some of their customized needs. I think where we as manufacturers will have to work on is what it is called as deferred differentiation. So in your manufacturing processes, how late you are actually closing your options and then closing it is something in the value stream we have to work on, because customers will look at what do they need. We can't just force feed them to go for a standardized one. So I think it's a very delicate balance, and lean methodologies definitely help us to do that.
Okay. Zurvan, one of the questions that's coming up in the chat and also was something that was in my head was that, if the modular kitchen industry is able to speak and voice out to the consumer in terms of why more standardized products and less customization, is it easier to speak to the end user, or is it easier to speak to the construction lobby so that we can get a more standardized construction, so that the market in which we are catering our kitchens and our products to becomes more ready for it to adapt to more standardized products?
I would still say it's easier for us as manufacturers with the kind of technology available today to be able to meet the requirement as it is without getting into it, because the kind of transformation you're talking, for it to actually take, have an impact, there's going to be too many years of business in between, which we can't afford to lose out on. Okay. So I would rather say that today technology is available, and probably going forward, I'm going to talk a little bit about the complete system, the end-to-end and the customer to shop floor and customer to customer system are also we can. So I think those answers are there before us. And I would much rather say that we actually use those kind of solutions to be able to deliver the customer experience at the same time maintaining the standardization. I like that term, deferred differentiation, and definitely one that is also looked at.
Okay, great. I think you spoke about technology, and that gives us a great bridge into our second innings, which will come post a short break. So I'll request you all to stay with us. We'll have a 1 minute of videos playing for everyone, and then we'll come back to a very interesting discussion that we're having. So see you in the second innings.
Introducing Hettich telescopic draw runners for smooth and effortless draw movement. Heavy-duty load carrying capacity of 45 kilos. Tested for 50,000 opening and closing cycles with a 10 years functional warranty. Hettich draw runners, made in India, made for the world.
So thank you for that. Now we'll go into the next round of conversation that we were having. When I remember last week's webinar where all the kitchen retailers were there, they spoke extensively about the kind of technology that they want to implement both at front end and at the back end. Because now in a practical sense, it's impossible for people, or it's going to be difficult for people to allow you into their houses to take measurements, to have discussions with you, for them to come inside your showrooms and retail spaces and actually have the touch and feel of the product. So definitely there are being a lot of technologies being implemented. But what we have seen is that a large number of them have been implemented at the front end, wherein you're facing the customer. So you have augmented reality where the customer is able to view his product or able to design his product online. But I think now, because of the supply chain stress that we face, it served as a catalyst for us to start thinking, how can we go for technology solutions that take us from design to manufacturing and, actually complete that entire loop for us. So I want to go into understanding what kind of technologies are out there, what are the solutions that we have with us, and how they can be implemented at different levels to take the customer's design into reality into a factory. So Ingo, maybe we can start with you on that, being the expert in this field, and then we can open the floor.
Yeah, it is part of previous discussion that most of the kitchen suppliers like Godrej, they declare their own products, their non-standard products as a standard. And this technology has also be part of the sales process. So now the point is that from the sales, we have to get the data directly into the production. And we have to get the data in the right format into the production. That's why I told you before, it is important to industrialize the data, that you have one database which comes from the production, standard database, which can be modified according to customer needs, and get back the process data to the manufacturing part, that you have standard processes from the sales, from the point of sales, doesn't matter if that is online in a browser, or so on an iPad, on a tablet computer, or it's even in a shop. And these data automatically will generate the production data for Homag machines, for other branding machines. It will also give you the information for what kind of fittings we have to purchase from Hettich, and also it's give us the information how many panels we have to buy from the Greenply options, what kind of colors are involved in, and how many meters of edge banding is involved in. So the point right now is that also Imos has developed a lot in. We have more or less two different ways of an order entry. One order entry is a B2C solution. So customers go online and just modify their own furniture. They design online in a web portal, and they can also place the order online and pay online. And automatically these data will be get back to the production, and you get your drawings automatically, you get your CNC files automatically, and all the information for the purchase department, that you have all informations together. The other way is, which comes more and more in picture right now, that Imos has developed a lot of sales options for shops. So you can make a complete kitchen design in a shop. This kitchen design could be customized according, let's say, Godrej database. So for example, Godrej has their data in a digital format. They have their cabinets with limits. So they not give the customer, the salespeople, the full information of the full options. Let's say make a cabinet 5 or 6 meters long. They have maybe a limit from 300 to 1000 millimeter. In these limits, the people can design cabinets. So this is a part of, let's say, customization, a non-customization, a non-standard furniture in a standard process. So whenever you have designed a kitchen in this Imos option, you can create a VR link, we call that virtual reality link, and share this link with a customer who is sitting at home, receiving this link, and on his smartphone, on his tablet computer, he can see in a 360-degree environment the full kitchen. If he order it, or if he modify it a bit, or if he order it, automatically the software will deliver all the process data for the machines, the barcodes, the CNC files, the information for how many panels are involved in, how many meters of edge padding are involved in, and also what kind of Hettich hardware is involved in. And here is one important point. I just take one example. I have a wall unit with a flap door. This wall unit is maybe 600 millimeters width. And if I increase the size from 600 to 900, the flap fitting still the same, but the spring inside will be a different one because the front has a bigger size and therefore also the kilogram weight is much higher. Therefore, we have to have different spring inside. And here software comes in picture and automatically identify this spring is the wrong one. It should be a different one. And therefore, we got the information from Hettich in a digital format that we have to implement in this cabinet a different hardware. And this is also a kind of customization. We got the information from Hettich, which spring allows how many kilograms. We've got the information from the customer, how big is cabinet, and automatically it will bring out the information for the production, let's say for the Homag machines, and deliver the CNC files and the edge padding information, cut to size, and it brings also the information for the panel industry, how many square meters of panels are needed for the next day. And this is somehow the way that the customer gives us the full information. And he is part of this process because once he receives the file with the kitchen on his tablet computer, he can modify the kitchen, he can see the kitchen, and with his changes, automatically it will change also the production information.
Wow. Great, so that's very convenient. Mr. Venkat, you wanted to come in on that.
Yeah, thanks, Dhruv, and thanks, Ingo. Incidentally, most of you might be aware, Homag and Imos are partners, and this entire solutions we actually are providing to the customers together. Just to add to what Ingo was saying, I think the area where it can really help is we have two things which happen. One is the information flow, the data which flows in any business, and movements what happen. I think there is a single source of truth, the way I want to call it. From the customer need, it translates into your designs, and then it moves into the manufacturing, and the product comes out. So this is one single integrated solution which really makes it, I would say, okay with respect to the requirements. And the second one, which in our industry we are still trying to build expertise, is the softwares can work based on how good the library you are able to create with respect to the hardware, with respect to the raw material knowledge. And that's the key, because as they say in any of the softwares or the information flow, GIGO, garbage in is garbage out. So I think we have to be very, very prudent in how do we create this library for these kind of systems to be really successful. And if I just extend this to further on the machineries, I think how well our machines are up and running is what dictates the cost, and which is where, how can you get this data and information real time? is the game changer. And those are the solutions which customers should be looking at, because unless you have a real-time data, real-time feedback, for you to really act real-time, you are actually not optimizing the usage of your machinery. And that's when your cost keeps going up. So the investments, what we do in these kind of digitizations will really give you big results when you are using the data real-time. So that's the point I wanted to make.
Great. Zurvan, I wanted you to come in on this because we know that Godrej has, such a large brick and mortar network that is, so widely spread, and you're having so many customer touch points, multiple manufacturing units. So I'm guessing information flow would be a hot topic of discussion all the time. And in such a complicated product where you don't have one box, but you have 20, 30 boxes all packaged together reaching the customer. And as a client of Homag and Imos, how do you see the practical implementation of the same? And what kind of solution are you looking at? And how do you see customer to manufacturing at your level?
So it is very much a challenge. And yes, we are working with Imos and we are working with Homag as well as with Hettich in terms of the Hettich for the building up of the library, etc. So for us, what Ingo spoke about is something that's absolutely critical. And this is what gives us the advantage. See, because when you have such a complicated or a complex requirement to be brought onto the shop floor, if you do not have these kind of direct to shop floor systems, if you have any points of handling or manual intervention, there is every chance of an error. Okay. And errors is something that turn out to be very expensive. These are intangible costs. So just, in fact, to take the point that Venkat was making a little further, actually the cost of ironing out errors or the benefit of ironing out the cost of errors itself is something which we really don't normally look at when we get into that. But this is one major factor. I'm going to talk more about the back end of part of it because I think enough has been said about the front end. But let's look at it now that, let us say we have that design on our shop floor. Now the question is, taking a leaf out of what Venkat said, we've got to be able to program our sequencing and make sure that the material is all channeled together and brought down to the endpoint together. Number one. Number two, Ingo mentioned barcoding. This is something critical because each of the panel then has an identity. Because when you start doing this kind of back-end standardization and front-end customization, you have to make sure that the right panel reaches the right customer. Otherwise, you've got hell to pay. So that's where the identification comes in, okay? And then you should be able to, and we are able to take that right to its logical conclusion, where we are able to ensure that all of it gets packed together, where again, the barcoding plays a role. So as you scan each barcode, when the set is done, you get your final label for your box with the customer's name up front because that's all there in the system. So it basically de-skills the need of the operator to have to know each panel and each customer's requirement. So this is the way in which technology is helping us in this particular complex situation, de-skilling it and reducing the chances of error.
So Gaurav, in extension to that on the technology front, as Zurvan mentioned, because you're supplying to so many OEMs and different kitchen brands as components, how have you sensed has been the penetration of technologies like this or softwares like this which help end-to-end integration? Because every time someone would integrate your library, you would know. So I think you would be a very good data point to know what kind of penetration we've had amongst the players.
I think the penetration of software like Imos has become more relevant in last 3 years. Prior to that, probably there were very limited number of customers, but now customers in India in last 3 years have become very, very familiar and probably started investing in Imos. So now people come back to us with regards to requests for libraries, upgradation of products which are not there in libraries, support system in terms of upgrading these products which they are using. So all these requests in last 2 years at least have become more pertinent. They were not so relevant, or they were not so much in numbers probably prior to last 3 years. But in last 3 years, I believe the number has really increased. That means more number of customers are interested and asking for it. So that means the trend is moving. People are willing to afford, because earlier it was probably 3 customers in all across India who would talk about an Imos thing. But now I believe in last 2-3 years, it has even reached a level where you cannot say that the guy is doing 100 crores, hence he's investing into it. People who are doing small niche works at higher end are also willing to invest into software because they want to do quality stuff really. So either two kind of people are investing. Either you have the scale, that means you're big sized, or you are really looking at good quality thing, then you're looking into it. So broadly, these types of customers really investing into it. And we are supporting our customers for libraries. There is no issue really about it.
I think the affordability factor is very interesting, because we know that modular kitchen industry is very unorganized at many levels, and there are a lot of small players that populate this market. So I want to throw that part of the question to Ingo and Venkat in terms of what is the role of the technology providers to be able to work through different segments, and how do you see that working? Do you see that it is feasible for a smaller manufacturer, a little less volume of business at this stage to implement technology or software of this kind? Ingo or Venkat, whoever wants to take it first.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ingo.
Okay, thank you. So I think it's not the question of the size of the customer. Before, big customers starting running factories in mass production, and the market is teaching them, or the market is asking for more customization solutions. This was actually the fact for smaller companies. It was the main business, the core business for very small companies, providing absolute mass customization cabinets. The bigger customers, the mass customers who are running factories, even in Germany, with a high volume of same article colors, size, and so on, these requests of those furniture is getting down. This is also because of we are having a change in order processes. As we mentioned before, the last innovation what we got in the world was a smartphone. It was the last innovation in the last time. And with the smartphone, we've got information or options to order online. Everybody is using online marketplaces and order typical stuff like clothes, like shoes, whatever they want. And they can customize those things. You can customize a shirt with your name on it and so on. And the same request comes up for furniture in future. And since this crisis, what we are facing right now, the acceptance of those online procedure is coming up more and more. It is a boost in case of ordering online. And as you can see, all the online shops, their numbers are not getting down. It's more or less that they're getting up. And people who are running shops, they are facing some problems. So the thing is also online that you have the option to customize your furniture. And this is also one big point for those customers. Think also to change their technology of machines in their factories, to change their mind in how my product could look like. And also once they start to digitalize their product portfolio, the time to the market is much faster like before. So you can react much faster to the market needs in case of you're bringing out a book which has a value of 1 year. So it is always in this case. And also, I've got a nice meeting. It was in the last India wood show. There came a customer, a kitchen customer of India, who told me, I totally changed my system and now my customization level is 100%. I do not have any standard cabinets now. Non-standard is my standard, of course, with standard processes. And this is exactly the way of smaller clients before, and now also of the bigger customers and huge customers like Godrej. they think in the same way. They also like to be flexible in their production, of course, with standard units part of the kitchen, for example, but always there's at least 1 or 2 cabinets inside of an order which has to be customized a bit. But they don't like to have this customized cabinet manually done by the workers. It should come in the same process like the other cabinets. And this is a way how we have to force this industry. It's just an synchronization of information from the supply industry, like from Hettich, from the fittings, from the panel, from the machine industry, and we see ourselves as an, let's say, as an information hub between the order, between the customer, between also the supply industry. And if everybody work in such an environment, it makes it much easier to deliver new products in a smaller time to the market, which are flexible.
Great. Mr. Venkat, on the same point.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a few more things. If you take Homag, we have like solutions across the various levels. Like you can go for Tapio, which is cloud-based IoT solution. If you want to integrate your entire factory and the ecosystem, including your supplier base, everybody, you can go for digital twins. If you want to do that, you want to go for a smart factory. Within a smart factory also, we have different levels of automation. So some of the things which are already there in our machines are like MMR. You can actually, the machine monitoring comes with our machines. You can monitor the health of the machine. And I jokingly call it as it's the Janma Kundli of the machine. So everything happening on the machine, you can see 24/7. Also, we have like independent solutions, like you can have a cabinet creator if you want. You can have an optimization for the cutting. You can have the nesting softwares. You can have for the edge banding optimization or the production assistant. So we have a complete suite of solutions which a customer can pick up based on what he thinks he needs for his business. So it's an entire spectrum. And we are also planning to come in the near future in India with a subscription model so that even it becomes more affordable to the customers. So yes, Homag has an entire solutions at different segments in the market.
Okay, that's very interesting because
one point,
yeah, Ingo.
just one
yes,
point
of course.
to just have an idea and to see the change in business. You can just ask the Homag product portfolio, how many double-side edge benders has been sold in the last 10 years to the market, and how many single-side edge benders. And the numbers of these double-side edge benders has break down a lot because this mass production is less than before. And the single-side edge benders got a lot of new technology to have different sizes next to next involved in the process, which comes from the customer needs. And this is something which is a very simple picture, which you can have a look to give you an answer how the industry is changing, not only the smaller one, even also the huge companies.
Awesome. So I think that's very interesting to hear because we've had a lot of long conversation about standardization versus customization, and now we're seeing how technology can solve that at all levels of and scales of manufacturing. When we think of technology, we are looking at the future, and I think for the last 5 or 6 months, everyone has been trying to predict what the future is going to look like, what the future is going to hold. Obviously, we don't have a clarity on that, but we definitely know that there has been a shift in the lifestyle. So we started this conversation with how people's lifestyle are changing, and that's how the kitchens have to adapt and innovate for the same. So going into the new normal, as people are calling it, people are spending a lot more time at home. They need work from home spaces. They require solutions which are sanitized. They need the precautions to be taken by the kitchen installers. So all of those things. So I want to know what are the kind of innovations or R&D that we are doing to adapt to our customers' new normal per se, or do we see it the change in kitchen patterns or kitchen designs based on the kind of innovations that will be required? So Zurvan, you want to take that up first?
See, when we talk of new normal, we're talking actually about ways of living that have been completely changed. Okay. And the way the kitchen was seen and the way that it is being seen now since lockdown and the way that it is going to be seen is you know, a whole transition story on its own. Rather than talk right now about, you know, the sanitization of the installation of the kitchen and all those which will come with their own challenges, of course, let's talk about the customer and the customer experience, which is really what this entire thing is about.
Right.
And we have to now look at the fact that A, the customer is spending more and more time in the kitchen. Probably it is not only the lady of the house, but also now the man who's playing his role in the kitchen. The kitchen is now a room for a lot of experimentation. Okay. And when you look at that whole thing, you've got a whole plethora of things that you can play around with. From basic comfort and hygiene in terms of, you know, having a blower system running in your kitchen, which can actually, you know, make it a little more cooling and comfortable for the lady of the house. Initially, of course, now it's for everybody. To having things like digital screens built into it, where things like online cookbooks are something that you can actually look at rather than, you know, having the paper across. And of course, as more time is being spent, you've got to think about child safety being built into the whole thing, because that is going to be an aspect, because if the family is going to spend more time over there. There's also the thought about probably with this lockdown thinking, there's going to be the need for more accessible storage space. Okay. And when I say accessible storage space, it need not all be at ground level. Can you have accessible storage space at a height, which is very easy to access? These are questions that we will have to find answers for. Okay. And then just another wacky thought which came to my mind when I was thinking about this. You know, you see a lot of these bathrooms with the his and her space. Is that going to happen in the kitchen? May not be, but who knows?
Right.
So I think we've got to, and you're not going to find these answers anywhere, but probably by talking and understanding the latent needs of the customer. These are not things that customers are going to tell you. You're going to have to think, you're going to have to observe, you're going to have to play around, take risks, and throw out ideas and see how they're going to work. I think there's a lot of exciting time ahead. If there's any room of the house that is really evolved during this lockdown period, according to me, it's the kitchen. Yeah. I mean, I for one rolled my first chapati during lockdown. I never knew I could do it. so it's going to be a lot of cohabitation space, co-working space, and the fact that with work from home, you are at times going to have to actually work while you're doing something else. You know, multitasking in a way. So these are just thoughts in terms of the innovative spaces that we can be looking at with it.
So Gaurav, like on the same lines, what are some of the things that, you know, Hettich is doing in terms of innovation or R&D, in case you're of the opinion that, you know, it's going to be very different going forward, or some of the things that in terms of the components being provided, are we going to see different storage solutions, technology integrations, you know, different kind of material coming in? What do you say about it?
To be honest, in last 2-3 months, I have not heard any kind of innovation or development which is taking place, because I am of a strong opinion that all this should wind up in max 3 months time more. By January, things should become to normalize. This is my assumption really. The things would become normal and we would start forgetting about all these things. And we as Indians would be the first ones to come back to the normal situation of work being done by the maids. So once that situation happens, we would start forgetting about whatever we are talking about. But you see, in earlier times, it was a day off by the maid, which used to make us work in the kitchen. Am I right? So it was that particular day that your wife was cooking the food or was washing the utensils. We may have worked hard during the lockdown time, but then probably certain investments in the appliances, the ovens. How many people make cake? Once a month used to be a cake day, or once in 3 months was a cake day. I believe during the lockdown, people must have baked cake almost 10 days in a month. Almost 10 days in a month. I'm saying father to son to wife, everybody must be making the cakes. इतना मैदा कभी नहीं बिका होगा हिंदुस्तान में, इतने अंडे कभी नहीं बिके होंगे हिंदुस्तान में. ठीक है? So it is like everybody has tried for everything. इतने गोलगप्पे किसी ने नहीं खाए होंगे जितने सड़कों पे जाके नहीं खाए होंगे, लोगों ने घरों में बनाए होंगे. So all these things these are things like you are not able to go out. You have tried this. I myself might have worked in the kitchen with a laptop being put on the table and trying to prepare something. Okay, but then is it going to be a normal? I doubt. It's a fad which is going to happen for next 3 months, 6 months. Yes, but storage space is going to be higher, no doubt about it, because you would not like to go to the market. No, when you can order online and things which you can store for longer period of time, why would you not store it for 1 full month or 2 full months instead of going down and buying every day? And secondly, why would you go down to a mandi to buy vegetable? Why can't you buy it from a sabzi wala who's coming across the road and buy every day fresh vegetables? So so the style would get changed, no doubt about it. But coming back to work being done by Hettich in terms of components, to be honest, at the moment we have not heard about anything. But one major area where I feel the change would happen is probably the coating or the finishes of the handles, which is going to be used by everyone. So a lot of people have been talking about brass could be of good use, copper could be of good use. So there might be an area that there is some kind of a coating thing happening, which would ensure it becomes antibacterial or something, because something like this already exists in door hardware industry.
Auto coating.
Yeah, but some coating exists which is being used for hospital furnitures. So those kind of things might come into the furniture fitting or the cabinetry handles, provided they're viable, economically viable, or people would become conscious about using them. Other than that, except for bigger storage spaces, I don't think so anything else is going to change in near future really.
And that's a very interesting viewpoint, because the kitchen is not a product that the consumer consumes in a short term. It's a long-term product. Over 5 to 10 years at least they're going to be using it. So if you're actually thinking that in 3 to 4 months time things are going to sort of return to how they were previously, then definitely you don't see a drastic change in the kind of designs how we are making for the kitchen. So very interesting viewpoints. I want to come to Partha, because I think when we're talking about health and hygiene in general right now, there's a lot of discussion about air quality and things like that, and both when it comes to in our factories, in our offices, in our homes, in our customers' houses. So where do you see changes in that? Because I know that Greenply has had a lot of move towards being less in terms of emissions in production and the kind of material they're providing. So how do you see that and changing in the future?
मिलिए शर्मा परिवार से, घर पे भी मास्क. मन में साधारण प्लाईवुड से हाई एमिशन का डर जो बैठ गया है, अरे कोई तो बता दो इन्हें कि ग्रीन प्लाई ग्रीन गोल्ड प्लैटिनम अब है कार्ब सर्टिफाइड, मतलब 0 एमिशन. तो आप रखें ग्रीन प्लाई ग्रीन गोल्ड प्लैटिनम पर भरोसा, क्योंकि ये रखे आपकी फैमिली को हैप्पी और हेल्दी.
Yes, Dhruv, that's correct. I have actually taken up that. Greenply Industries has always been a leader in innovation in plywood industry in India, be it quality, be it technology, or more importantly, health. Recently, our focus has shifted from regular production into health and hygiene, and which can be seen embedded in our niche products that we are manufacturing. And now it has become the core for us with a range of CARB certified, that is a 0 emission plywood products having additional antibacterial coating. Even we have got this fire retardant plywood for the safety of the home. Now, when we talk about this air quality, just to give you an example, nowadays we live in a controlled artificial environment, whether at home or at our workplace. We're spending more and more of a time. The air from the AC, it gets circulated over and over again. So what happens is the filters in the AC, it can definitely remove the dust, but it cannot remove the impure gases or harmful gases from the room. The most common of those gases is the formalin. This formalin is a gas which is used in any adhesive which is used for manufacturing of any wood panel based product. Any product that you can think of, it will have a formalin in it. Now this formalin has got very ill effect with respect to the health. If I talk about short term, it could be irritation to the eyes, nose, skin irritation. When we think of long term or prolonged exposure, it could lead to your lung disorders, as well as it could be carcinogenic, or it could have your nasopharyngeal cancer. Now, in order to do away with this, in India, as of now, BIS, your Bureau of Indian Standard, has not standardized anything which talks about the limit of your formaldehyde emission in plywood. That is not there. So we thought of something of taking into consideration CARB, or California Resource Board's, their parameters into our product, and we have certified ourselves with CARB and EPA. So whatever products we are manufacturing right now, it will have the list of your formaldehyde emission. Just to give you an example, how the local plywoods that you get from like unbranded companies would be probably in the range of E2. There are actually three categories which CARB has categorized: E0, E1, and E2. So E2, when we talk about, it would be somewhere around 30 milligram of your formalin in 100 gram of a plywood. Then there are products which are in the range of E1 category, which would be having somewhere around 8 milligram of a formalin in 100 milligram of a plywood, a sample that you are taking into. The product that we have recently manufactured, that is the zero emission, that is the E0, it has got less than 3 milligram of your formalin in 100 gram of a plywood. Now that 3 gram is actually the parameter set by the CARB, but our own test results, or the results that we have got from CARB, is less than 0. It's 0.14. So you can think about, it's almost negligible. Almost the formalin is taken out. So we are giving a product which would not only benefit the carpenters when they are making a product with it. Not only that, whatever the laborers or the industry, in our particular industry also, whenever we are making that particular plywood with your formalin, whoever comes in interaction with that plywood would not be affected, which as of now was not thought about. The health of the worker, the health of the carpenter, that was not thought about. So we think of this has been a very great initiative by Greenply, and which fits in very well in the Greenply ethos and brand name also, that we have introduced this zero emission plywood, which not only helps in having a very good health of your the laborers in the factories, be it the carpenters or the end user, because ultimately the end user is us only. Our home is made of different kind of furniture, be it a modular kitchen or a different kind of furniture which are taken care of. So whatever products we are going ahead with, we have totally accepted that E0 standard when going forward, and everything would be under zero emission. Now, other than that, we also have this fire retardant plywood. Now, you might be aware that nothing in this world actually is your fireproof. Obviously, the iron would also melt at around 1400 degrees centigrade. Now, in that case, the plywood that is made of wood, we have certain kind of a chemical which resists that fire inhibition, and it prolongs the period up to the time you can say about that the flash point is delayed. So whenever there is any kind of ignition, it will take around an hour or so for that plywood to burn out. So in that case, we have got sufficient time to take out your valuables for your safety. You can move out of the home. So these things has been taken care by us. These are the things that we are continuously focusing on, because the regular plywood anybody can manufacture. But with this kind of value addition, Greenply has come up and would come up with different innovations in near futures also. You will see that.
That's very interesting, because when we're talking about delivering a solution that's better for the customer, we have to start from the basics, which is the raw material. So not only end product that we're delivering, but even the raw material has a big impact to it. So that's great. Those were the large points that I think we wanted to cover in our conversation. I have 3 questions that I have picked out from the audience, and I would like to for one of our panelists each to take that forward. first and foremost, Zurvan, the question comes to you. Someone has asked that, being a small scale manufacturer, if you're a new manufacturer of kitchen, what do you suggest going forward? Because a lot of the conversation last week was that maybe we need to, lower our ticket size, increase our ticket size. If you're acquiring one customer, then instead of selling just kitchen, can we sell them more amount of products? So both in terms of the price segment and the basket of products, what do you advise a small and new manufacturer to do in terms of which direction to grow in? Or should they stick to the niche?
No, I think I would say sticking to the niche alone would be a more difficult or a more challenging way of doing it, because then you've really got to be up there. So I would really recommend looking at a larger portfolio, because kitchen alone is not something which is a sustainable option. But then again, because a lot of the processes are, I would say, common or general. Okay, so once one gets into those kind of investments, and Homag has a very beautiful range starting from low end, small scale, going up to a higher end. So you get into that. Okay, and with that, then you would play the kitchen market on a different proposition. Okay. See, because finally again there are customers and customers. So that is how I would do this.
Perfect. Next question from an anonymous attendee. Again, this one is for Mr. Venkat. It might be a sales inquiry for all you know. It says, how much does a smart factory for making modular furniture with a flatbed nesting CNC and a thorough feed edge bender cost in terms of approximation? So you have
your phone number.
I'll collect the phone number and pass that on.
If I may say, I think it also depends on what kind of daily output you are looking at, because that dictates actually the number of machines you need. And that's when we can actually come out with I would say, a financial number. But although you said anonymous, if you have any inquiry, you can actually drop it to me and our regional guys will connect with you.
I would request sourcing hardware admin to take the gentleman's number and pass it on to Mr. Venkat. Last question that we're taking up, this is for Mr. Gaurav. So they said that dishwashers are out of stock because people don't want to wash their utensils in the kitchen themselves. But largely in India, people have not been using dishwashers as much as abroad. So do you see a change in that and other appliances which make it easier to function within the kitchen? Because that could be a more permanent change to happen than just few design changes in the kitchen. Do you see appliances?
I feel that appliances are going to be becoming more relevant in the kitchen. You see, the trend had already started probably a year back itself. Before Corona, you can say the trend had become relevant, that people were becoming more concerned about appliances. And now, after having worked in the kitchen themselves, finding need for missing items, specifically the dishwasher was one missing thing because people had to wash their utensils themselves. And as somebody has already written, that dishwashers are out of stock in India at the moment. You are not able to get dishwashers very easily from, so there's a problem of supply constraint at the moment. So items like dishwasher, but I'm again telling you, what would happen is the dishwasher would be installed, but the lady of the house would still keep the maid on, would use the dishwasher once a week or probably once in a month only for her own use. I'm telling you, we are not going to move away from the maid system. Somewhere of the household, somebody would make a pinpoint, the things are not happening cleanly. So let's keep the maid on. So we are going to invest money into appliances, but I doubt we are going to move away from a system whereby we're going to move away. I can give you a personal example. We have a washing machine, but the work is still being done by the maid. So that means we have invested into a washing machine, but there's somebody who's still coming down and washing the clothes. So I'm saying similar things are going to happen. People are going to invest in appliances, and there is going to be big time investment in appliances. Dishwasher is one of the key items. Oven is going to be the second in thing, which was not as popular because I said people have got into habit of baking. People have started baking breads at houses. So a lot of people have started becoming, so people have moved on from the cake to the breads as well. What I'm saying is, a lot of good, so these investments are going to become big time really. Appliances are going to be more integrated into kitchens now.
It's very encouraging.
They have to be accommodated into the kitchens. They have to be integrated into the kitchens. I think.
Yeah, surely.
So we have to be able to incorporate them into our designs, Zurvan. That's what we have.
Yeah.
Ringo's smiling. There's more work coming.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of our chat. I think if we were to go into each of the topics that we discussed today, we possibly could have gone on speaking for much longer. But
on their own.
But we are trying to stick to our time schedule given. So we'll be ending the conversation. I hope the session was informative for all the audience. And I hope it was interesting and intriguing for all the panelists involved. It surely was very good for me. And I wonder if we would have been able to have all of these panelists come together if this was a physical conference, because we have someone who's joined us from Bombay, from Germany, from Calcutta, from Bangalore, from Gurgaon, and from Parwana. So every one of our panelists has joined us from a different city. And I think technology has made that happen. So I'm sure it can also bridge the gap between customization and standardization as we see it. Right. So on that note, I would like to end this conversation and thank all the panelists for making it out here and all the audience members who have stuck with us for the last 90 minutes. I want to give the floor now to Mr. Ingo, who will be putting in a presentation about the software. And I would love all of us to watch that through, because I think we would understand much more about what Imos has been doing and what they have to offer. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hettich fittings make your furniture work beautifully. German quality you can trust.
Okay. What I will do is I would like to give you just a brief information of options, how exactly that what we have discussed today works in the today's business. And therefore I have prepared a very small sketch in which you can a bit more understand the way of this technology works, and also what is an ecosystem, how does it work in your company or could work in your company, and what are the options in. So we are talking about an online shop as well as an offline shop. So an online shop could be a configurator online, and an offline shop could be a sales shop. All of this information will get back the information to the production with the database. And this database is filled with the production, with the products. It is filled with all the Hettich hardware, with all the Hettich hinges, and also technical-wise with the drilling pattern of those hinges. It is also filled with all the Greenply panels, with the panels customized using in their factory. And this database is also filled with the information of what machines are involved in its own production. So what kind of files has to be delivered according to the new design a customer is have a look to. I will just start with a very small idea of an online shop, and we can see also how this Industry 4.0 works in a very small way. For this, I just open a browser. And we just have a password and username where I can log in. And this browser can be used, or the sales option can be used on a tablet computer, on a smartphone, on a computer worldwide, and it doesn't stick to a place. You can use it from all over the world because everything is online and you don't have to install any software in this case. If I like to customize a cabinet in a very simple way, I could just open my basket here and ask for a new one, IKC 2020, for example, and I can create my own basket. And now we can see here is a basket list, a name of cabinet. I can choose part of my furniture, and I just use a cabinet by itself. And this cabinet can be customized according the catalog content, according to the options a catalog can get. So here I can try to make a cabinet which has a size of 888 millimeters. I can change my drawer information. I can choose a two-side drawer system from Hettich, for example, and I can choose also here my different panel information, let's say from Greenland. I can choose the different handles. This could be also a customer specific data. So some Hettich handles are involved in this case, for example, and now I can see exactly the same cabinet who has a bigger size like before. And also the internal hardware is changing, because if I change a cabinet from 6 to 888, also the slides, the hardware information and how many kilograms belongs to the slides has been changed. I can add this cabinet to the basket. And now I will get here an article and also a price for this cabinet, automatically according my new size, new colors, and also my new hardware. If I look to the basket in this way, I have here my cabinet. If I'm keen enough, I can give also some discount and it will calculate my cabinet price. It also gives me here the options of add in some project data, the project name, the sales manager's name. I can add the shipping address. I can add an invoice address. I can create some documentation, and as well as I can modify my prices. So I can say I like to ship this out. I ask for additional 20 euro. If this is clear, I can get online also a quotation. So now I have here a quotation available for this specific cabinet. It shows me the size of the cabinet. It shows me the final price. We have here the delivery cost involved in. And very important, we have a quotation number. This is a unique number at the end with 687. If I like to order this cabinet, this specific cabinet, I just click here to order the basket, and I have to accept the conditions. And I place the order, and I've got here an order number 687 in the end. Okay, that's all in order to customize a cabinet. I can change the basket and fine. If I now have to produce this cabinet, I'm interested in the production data. For this, we have some optimized system. It's quite innovative, and it's a system which works totally automatically in order to download all the orders and create this kind of production information. It is called integration server. If I start the processes, we have here the download of all the orders. And now I can see here there's a new order download with a file number 687 in the end. So now my system in my factory runs totally independent and automated, even by night. It opens up the software by itself. It creates automatically all the drawings by itself. It creates also automatically all the CNC files by itself. So every order from the customer is coming online down to my factory, and I just got down the CNC files, the cutting information, as well as the drawings. For this, we just have here a folder with reports, CNC files, and cutting information. If I tick to this folder, I have to wait for some for some new files here. In a few seconds, we can see there's a new folder, which is updated today. We can see in the integration server that the software sends back a status. It creates a bill of material data automatically, as well as now we have here PXM data, CNC files. So if I look in here, I have automatically for the order number 687, my CNC files here available in all my folders. So every order gets its own folder with CNC files, with cutting information, as well as with single part drawings. Next step is the software creates those drawings automatically. And then again, it will create a report for this. And remember, this order comes absolutely by the customer online. There's no people in between who are, let's say, who are designing those data for the production or make the drawings. What we do is we have a master database, which is uploaded to the internet, and the customer is just downloading, it's just modified according to the regulation, according to the limits of this database. And then the factory, the production company is downloading those CNC files, drawings, according to customer needs. I go back to my outputs and I have a look to the reports. And we will see in a few seconds, there will be a new report with 687 in the end. The integration server is now working on it to make the dimensionings, to make the drawings in the background. It is working like an, you can say like a black box. And after it is finished, it will have created all those data. So we can see now in this integration server operations that we have created the process data, the documents has been created, and now next, after the documents, it will create also the reports. So we can see here in the left folder in a few seconds that here are some more reports flying in with the number of 687 in the end. And this is totally independent to the production people. So now the first report has been created. We can look to here. Here is it, 687. I just open this 687. And here we can see it is our cabinet who has here an explosion view with all the panels which belongs to this specific cabinet. We can see here it has the number according to the online business. We can see also here the specific drawing of the Hettich hardware. We can see here also again the order number, the online user, and last but not least, it will create the single part drawings with all its fittings, with all its drilling informations from the internet. What we can see also is here that here we've got the drillings from Hettich. The drilling information is coming from the supplier. So whenever Hettich creates a new article, a new slide, we are loading in the slide in a digital format in our library. And once it is in a library, it has also the technical specification of what kind of drillings are needed, how huge are those drillings, how is the position of those drillings. And once we have this in a digital format, we can use it online or in our production all the time. So here we can see, we have here barcode number 1001. If I go back to my CNC files and I open this 1001, here is the 1001 created today at German time 106. I can open it. And Imos will deliver those data directly to all the machines which are part of the customer's production site. In this case, I have used a Homag machine. And here, exactly what we can see is that those drilling informations which are created from Imos has been delivered to the CNC machine with all its specifications. So here are the drilling informations for the CNC machine. And those drilling informations are linked from the supplier industry, Hettich, to the database of Imos, and from the database of Imos to the sales option, and from the sales, we've got the specification of this specific cabinet, so the customization, and we get back the process information for our production. This is a small way of how to order online cabinets and get these files automatically downloaded into the production site. It is just one cabinet. The next, which I like to have a word on, I was showing here the online shop, customize and cabinet. We also be able to have an offline shop, let's say a solution for a shop in which we can have much more options. And this will be now the next option specifically for kitchens, because we are talking about kitchens today and how we can increase those efficiency in kitchens. For this, again, I start my software, which is now installed in my computer. And in this software, we have all the options of a room planning function, of a customization of a kitchen, and also of just design something which is unique, which belongs to our customer. I just have to organize my frame a bit. The first thing I will do is, if I like to start designing a kitchen, I will start with room planning functions. In this way, Imos offers a lot of options. We can create a new room. We can use a polyline from an architect or the information from a customer. We can make a rooftop. We can make single doors, walls inside, as well as corners, chamfers, and so on. All these options are available. But to keep it a bit easy, I just start with a single floor plan. I can change here my material, my floor material, according to my list here. I have here a lot of options available. I can have a carpet, a beach flooring plan. I can have here this Italian tiles, and as well as I can just tick here to my different walls, and I can modify it. Let's say 7,250 millimeter. The same I can do also for the widths, 5500, for example, and automatically it creates the room. The next is what we have to have is a window, for example, inside. I just tick here to a window, and I can place this window into this room here. Same with the window, I can modify the position of the window. Let's say the distance to the wall. It should be 950 millimeter. So the window is moving along. And the width of the window, let's say 900 millimeter. And the height, and so on. I can add on some more windows inside. I can tick to the window here and say this should be a much bigger window. This should be a walk-through window. And it should have a width of 1.2 meters, for example. And the distance of 80 millimeter, for example. So whenever I have set up this window, I can multiply it along my needs. We can set up a door inside and have here a door involved in. Again, the door, I like to change it from left to the right side. And in this way, I have my room available. Quite simple, quite easy. I can tick here to the to the walls, and I can change here the different colors if I want to. And in this way, I can customize a complete room. Next is I like to involve a kitchen. For this, we just open here our configuration. And now the important thing is in this kitchen, and this is also very interesting, we have here exactly the same units which we have seen online. Please remember, when I start the online configuration, I just choose a base unit. Exactly the same data can be also used in a shop. So again, we have one database with all its information of the supply industry as well as of the machine industry and as well as of our product portfolio, which are flexible in size. The first thing I can do is I can set up some global settings. I can say I like to have my kitchen plinth in a white panel. I can choose my different types of surfaces for my worktop: stone, metal, wood grain. And I can choose my different type of my door or front material. So here I like to have, let's say, some high gloss. Go for lava, for example. I can choose my handles and I can save this. And now this is my pre-definition of a kitchen. And now if I like to make here a kitchen inside, let's say we have here a kitchen line plus an island, which is quite interesting. First of all, we very often have the case that we have some installations like water pipes and so on. For this, we have to go to the options of the wall installations. Here you can see all these installation points. So for example, we can set up here a wall installation for water and for gas. Important for my installation team later on. The same I can do with some sockets. So here I have some sockets available. Like this one here. And if I like to start now designing my kitchen, I go to my catalog and start using, let's say, some tall units. So I can put in a number of the sizes and automatically it starts with the tall units numbers. I can add here a panel, for example, and place it to the wall. And now you can see it comes in a white color according to my pre-installation. I can choose another cabinet in here. I like to have here a coffee machine involved in, as well as an oven. This unit should also have some lights on top. And then I can add it to the basket. And now, as you can see now, it automatically flipped together. In this way, it makes it very easy for us to create this kitchen out of my standard library. And now we have also here my high gloss lava panels involved in. I have here my cups, which are part of it. I add one more cabinet, tall unit. And one more side unit, side panel, just added to this specific kitchen. And now I fill here the gap with some base units. So therefore, I just go for the base units. Look for the base units here, and then I can choose my base units, which I like to have in. So here are some base units. We have different options in here. We can tick to the plus, it comes out with a standard size, or we can stick to the name. And then again, we can customize the sizes like we have seen in the online process. So let's say 900 millimeter. just place it in here. And now the next, we have here the water pipes. So we have to have a sink installation. So therefore we ask our catalog, do we have a sink? And then it will list down me all the options for a sink. So I just choose here this sink unit, make it also in 900. I can choose here the different sinks according my library information and add it also to this kitchen. And now the next is, we can see also, it also gives us a cutout for these appliances automatically. The next is, I have to fill the gap to the wall. First of all, we have for this a laser option to measure the sizes, 1085. So there it would be interesting to have a cabinet with 1 meter, and we have a filler. So therefore we go for 2 drawer units and ask for a meter cabinet, add it to the basket. And then we like to have a filler involved in, or we just keep the gap, or we just fill it with an additional panel. So in this case, I just ask for a filler. There is a right side filler, should be 85 millimeter. I add it to this kitchen, and now this line is complete. The next is, I like to have here some wall units. Let's say I like to have a glass unit. So I use my wall unit catalog with 2 doors or with a flap unit. We like to have some lights involved in, some spotlights underneath, as well as on top the same lighting. I have to move this article. And I would like to have different door materials. So again, we can modify this article here, and we can ask for some glass doors. Automatically, the logic says if I have a glass door, also the glass shelves are involved in. And then I like to have some shelves also involved in. Look for some wall shelves. Number 1 and number 2. And now my first kitchen line is finished. Of course, I like to have also an island. But what we can do right now is also, we can have a look what kind of hardware is involved in. And here we see also that there are some Hettich hardware with glass panels involved in. We can see also the way of how the door opens. So here are the sensors hardware involved in. Yeah, we can normally open each and every cabinet and see the movement of those hardware. This way we can demo a customer how a kitchen is looking like and how this kitchen will work in future. I close the articles, and now I like to also have here a kitchen island with a cooking field involved in. Therefore, I just go here for a cooking field. It gives me here a unit with a cooking field. I can use here a gas or a Miele or a SMEC or a local one. All these appliances could be loaded into the software. We just choose here a hood. And finally, we create our island. I place it into the kitchen. Then I just fill it with some different additional cabinets. If I tick to the plus, it comes in with a standard size of 600. If I tick to the name, it opens also the configurator to have different sizes involved in. So plus is the option. And another way is also, I can open it. And then we have the, it comes up with a configurator, and here still we can change sizes. I like to modify this article. I like to have here different material involved in. I like to have here, let's say, some Marolia front material involved in. So this is no different to the other one. And I like to have one more cabinet with the same configuration. So I just copy this article to not open the configurator again and make it much faster. So what we can see also is that the worktop is moving automatically. Finally, we ask for a side panel. We ask for a panel. We take out this panel here and change sizes according to an island. Just flip it in here. And we copy the article. And take it over to the next side. And finally, we are finished. We have missed that we have to have here some electrical points as well. So I go back to my installation points. So I like to have here some sockets as well for the cabinets as well as for the wall unit in order to have also the lamps involved in. And now I'm finished with my kitchen. What I can do is now I can decorate it and I can do something more to make a nice rendering. This we will do for a short minute. We just go for decoration, for example, and we ask here for a kitchen decoration. We like to have here a dining table involved in. Let's take this one here. So there should be a dining table. We like to have also some plants on the floor. Let's go in and make something something nice on top. We have here some cheese. We can have here also an Imos cup. It's a good one. Some fruits. And a magazine. And then we finish with our design. And we do our installation informations first. What we can do now is we can make a short rendering. For this, quite simple. We just walk into the kitchen here. Was wrong in position. And we just change our view from a parallel to a perspective view. Therefore, we can have the kitchen here. And we like to have here a rendering involved in. Therefore, what we can do is we can adjust the rendering a bit. We can ask for an environment, so we get also a background picture. Here we can choose some of them. Let's say we have a brightness. And we also can change here the intention of the sun. then we just ask for a rendering. It's just a snapshot, very fast one, to get an idea how the kitchen could look like and how this kitchen will look in my own environment. So it is only for making a fast, quick picture. And then last, we also can link it to the VR glasses and share this also via this VR link to the customers' mobile devices, to the customers' houses, and give him through other opportunities, different solutions in order to have his kitchen available on a mobile device. Now the rendering will start in a few seconds to just get an idea how this kitchen could look like. There are 5 levels of rendering available, and the picture comes up in a meanwhile now, and it becomes better and better, the resolution of it, by running the time. And then we have also this kitchen here with my appliances, with my different colors of panels, with the lights from the top, from the oven, or from the hood here available. You can see also in the background the shadows of the cabinet spotlights. You can see also here the brightness of the top lights. So all these options are available in getting and rendering. And this rendering time lasts around 2 minutes. And then there would be just a pre-shot. Of course, we can change the resolution up to HD format and add some more kind of decoration inside to have a much more realistic picture available. But I think for this small demonstration today, it is interesting enough just get an idea how the rendering works and how this way of rendering takes time for. Important thing is also here, what we have mentioned today, the time to the market. So the question, how long does it take for me to customize such a kitchen? And also, how long does it take for me to make a quotation out of it? The most important point, whenever I finish this kitchen here, I just can upload it by a link to the factory like we have seen before with the internet shop. So everything what we did now here is ready for production. And there's no one in between who have to sit down and reorganize all the drawings, reorganize all the calculations, reorganize all the list of the hardware. This is just a part of it which comes automatically. I will now save this drawing here. I am just saving this to the desktop, for example. IKC. I'm okay. And then I stop it. I go back now to one important point, which is very important also for the industry. That we are able now to do our important elevations. For doing an elevation in Imos, there is a quite simple way. We just click on this button here, drawing views, and then Imos will automatically generate all the plan views, all the elevations with all dimensions and sizings. And finally also, we will see in the elevation all the naming, all the position numbers for each and every cabinet. That also give us a list, a delivery list of all those components, which can identify which cabinet belongs to which position in the kitchen. So all this information which are needed for the installation teams is also on demand available after doing this specific drawings. The first now, which comes out, will be the floor plan. To do this drawings, it takes roughly 20 to 40 seconds. But what we see now is we have here the floor plan with the sizings available. The next will be the elevation for all the 4 different walls. And then we also can have an electrical plan with the power sockets and with the water pipes involved in. So also this is something which is very important for the kitchen industry. It is not only to design a kitchen, they also need the information where we have to place the power sockets and where we have to place which and whatever position from this cabinets has been done. So it is very important to give all those information to every party who is in charge for. So what we have seen now here, Imos also generates now the drawing frame for, and we have all those drawings now on demand available. And if I just look to my timer, it took me 10 minutes to create a kitchen, to get a rendering, and also automatically to get these drawings available. We can see now here in the lower line, we have all the views as a layout. View number 2 with the windows, and then of course the different views with the floor plan, with the elevation of the kitchen, and all this stuff comes out. So now here we have the plan view, the view number 1, view 2, and so on. I just would like to go to this floor plan. What we see here in the floor plan is that we have in a blue line all the base units in sizes plus the panels in between, and as well as we have in the black line all the sizes of the worktops, and in the magenta color there we have the wall units involved in, and the green one we have the sizes of the room. Same happens also for the island, and if I look here to view number 3, it is also here available in this drawing. Automatically, what we can do is we can annotate a view. So in this annotation, I could have here also the information of what kind of modules belongs to my kitchen. So here automatically we can see here we have here position number 5, position number 7, position number 8, and these are the names of the cabinets. So all these positions are here declared in this specific annotation. The same what we can do is also we can annotate a view, an elevation. And then the same happens also with this elevation. We've got the namings of all those cabinets plus the position number. I save now this kitchen. I give him a name, IKC 2020. We can generate automatically here the CNC files for the machines. We can ask for the barcodes. We can ask for all the information of my production, and automatically it start now saving those data. Meanwhile, I start my organizer, and in the organizer we can see now exactly how many consumption of hardware is involved in. We can see also the quotation with the rendering. We can see also how many panels we have to purchase, and as well as also we can see how long does it take for my production. Whenever a sales manager shares this kitchen design to the factory, it comes via the integration server into his computer from the production. And then we have in the order management a new folder. IKC 2020. And we can see here also the kitchen units in this line with specific sizes. We can add here, if you want a customer name, we can add here an head data, let's say a commission number, and processor, Ingo. You can save this. We can ask here for a specific picture from the rendering. And of course, if we want to, we can calculate this kitchen. So it will calculate the complete kitchen with all its hardware, with all its time for production, and also with all its customization. And then we get a price for this kitchen plus the prices for the appliances. And if this is done, we will have the quotation, we will have all the information of the purchase information of the hardware, the fittings, and also consumption of all those information in my library. Now we see also in a few seconds that it has a price here. And then we start the reports for this specific kitchen and get this information done. It is now doing the same job like before, what we did from one cabinet from the online portal. Now it does this job for the entire kitchen, that we have all those files available and can produce it after the design is downloaded with all its sizes, prices, and hardware information. What I have done now is, in the first step, we did here the online configuration, send it via the Exchange Cloud to the factory. In the second step, I did it also with the offline. I did a kitchen, I did a room plan, elevations, renderings. We can link it with a VR presentation. And now we make a quote and an order invoice to the customer, and automatically the kitchen has been handed over to the production. So now we have a price here. We have here the head data of this specific kitchen. We can ask now here for a loading list. We can ask here for the quantity survey, for example. We can ask here for so many questions and reports, but we like to have also here a quotation. We just make this purchase information also visible. And then now we can create those reports. This is quite interesting for the designer as well as for the production team. Each of them can get its own reports which are specific for them. All the reports can be saved as an Word document as well as for PDF and Excel. And once these reports are finished, we will see first of all the quotation for this specific kitchen. Here we have the quotation. Of course, I just did a name inside. We have the IKC order here. We can have here small rendering available. And then we can get all these modules which we have set up in the kitchen with the catalog content pictures and with its own prices. So first we have the appliances involved in, and second we just raise up the information of all the panels and of all the cabinets, which are customized. And we've got a final price. The next is, which is very important for the purchase department, and interesting as well, we have here the consumption of this kitchen. It has a consumption completely of 49.46 square meter. There are some glasses involved in. There are melamine whiteboards involved in 5.3 square meter. There is 60 millimeter wide, and there's of course 90 millimeter wide. We have here 189 meters of edge banding involved in. We have here all the hardware involved in from the different supply industry. There is a Heffler, Hettich, also the other partners involved in. So it's a mix of all the suppliers. We can get here also the purchase parts like aluminum frames for. And finally also it can give us a number of time for production. So how long does it take for this specific kitchen in order to produce it? And also if we have a time for production, we also can estimate a cost calculation for production. This cost calculation for production is also part of the quotation. So it is not only how many fittings and how many handles are involved in on panels, square meters, it's also recognize the cost calculation for production. Finally, also what we get is here the loading list. And here, very interesting to see is that we have here the position numbers, the article names, and the position numbers are also the numbers which are in my drawing. So here I have position number 12, 1B DRS. This is a cabinet. And the same article we can find here, number 12, 1B DRS, and here's the size for this specific article. So we have the elevation and we have the loading list, and this together is quite easy for the installation team to bring the kitchen cabinets into the right position. Finally, we can export the data. We can add it to the production. Then it will be also part into an MES solution, or it will just use the Imos data for production. And then also we can export this kitchen via an VR glass link to the customer, that the customer can see and feel his specific kitchen design. What we have seen now in Imos is quite a small job. I did in 10 minutes a kitchen. We have seen the floor plan. We have seen the elevations. We have seen a rendering. We have seen the quotation. This is everything what is needed for a kitchen shop, plus the interaction with the customer. And the other side, which is very important for the manufacturer, for the fitting industry and for the machine industry, we have seen the hardware list. We have seen also all the information for the machines, like the barcode and the CNC files, which are on demand available. And as well as we have seen the consumption of panels. So what we are now displayed to you is not only to design a kitchen, we have displayed you a small environment, like an ecosystem, which talks from the customer via the sales manager to the production, which also talks to the supply industry and to the machines which are involved in his processes. So that was also part of our today's discussion, how we could deliver a software ecosystem which combines the interest for the sales, for the production, and for the purchase department to give the customer a full integrated picture of his new kitchen and of his new design. And that is exactly what we need to have. We have to have the customer needs in our central point. And out of this, we have to deliver the information to the different departments to deliver exactly what the customer is looking for. I think so far we are fine with today's discussion, and I thank you very much for watching my presentation today. Deepak?
Yeah.
I have more or less finished with the idea of an integrated system. I hope you enjoyed it a bit.
I'm trying to come back.
You are?
Yeah, I'm trying to come back, start my video, but nevertheless, let me thank you for your lovely presentation. And I think you've added a lot of value to today's discussion. Gauravji, would you like to say something at this moment? Otherwise, we could.
Ingo, your presentation was really enlightening.
Thank
So
you.
that's it. Thank you.
So, okay, then we'll bid goodbye to all our audience, to our listeners, and hope to meet everyone again next week for our session on marketing.
Thank you.
In the meanwhile, have a good day and a good weekend.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You.